All right, guys. So yesterday we talked about a few more of these Renaissance artists. Let's start off with Raphael. What's he famous for? What are some of the famous works of Raphael? And we talked about Michelangelo and Da Vinci already, but we didn't mention too much about Raphael. What are some famous works? Paul, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, but I thought you were talking about Raphael.
Oh, okay. No, Raphael. I thought you were going to spit some fire for me about Raphael. Literally. Joke. So go ahead.
He painted. He's an artist. He painted Madonnas.
Good. Yeah, good job, good job. So the Madonnas, it's not Madonna that you're thinking of, but real quick, so the Madonna is what? What is this a depiction of, Paul?
Mary.
Yeah, good job, Mary. Good, Mother of Jesus. And a lot of these pictures depicting that relationship with one another. And a lot of these works of art were inspired by the Pope. Now, why do you think the Pope would want to try to push these artists and create these Christian themed forms of art, paintings, sculptures? What's the reason for that? Paul?
His brother religion.
Yeah, good job, good job. So we know with the Renaissance, this is a shift, right? Humanism's emerging, and a lot more people are distancing themselves from the church. So yeah, when it comes to religion, when it comes to power, the church wants to grasp that back. So that's why a lot of these works of art are mentioning a lot of Christian themes. Okay, good. But Raphael's famous for the Madonnas. What else is he famous for? I didn't show you a picture yesterday. Hopefully, you guys got a chance to look at that. It's called the School of Athens. And that's another famous work of Raphael. And it was actually by the Pope to create this work, part two. And what is the School of Athens all about? Chris Javis? Oh, you just put School of Athens. There you go, you got it. Good, good. What's it all about, Caroline? Yeah.
According to this, is about Socrates, but it's basically a picture of what it looked like for everyday life in school Athens.
Yeah, good job. So Athens is the emergence of what type of government? Does anybody know? What type of government? Honor. Democracy. Yeah, good job. So they had a direct democracy, which everybody has to say, okay, whatever the people want, that's the way the government would operate. And obviously, when it comes to the school of democracy, it's important for the time period to explain these enlightenment thoughts. Right, we'll talk about some of these absolute monarchies, okay, and how really controlling the centralized government was, not just one specific place in Europe, but all throughout Europe. And we'll mention more about that here soon enough. But with the School of Athens, this is trying to portray a different way, different viewpoint. People have a say in government. And again, with the Pope, he's trying to link a lot of these Greek and Roman features within this viewpoint. So whenever you look at that painting, you'll see a lot of Romanesque architecture. You'll see the lifestyle that people live. A lot of the communication is a lot of it based off of Christianity, off of religion, but at the same time shaping it into a political structure. So that's what his work of art, the School of Athens, is all about. All right, what else? Who else did we talk about? Donatello. Donatello. What's he famous for that we talked about yesterday? Billy, go ahead. Yeah, good job. So sculptures of David. All right, so one of them I showed you yesterday of him taking down Goliath. That's him as a warrior. And at the time, I know the features. He doesn't look like a very buff, muscular man, but that was the ideal look for a man, a Renaissance man at the time. So he was depicting a lot of these essence of the male anatomy on the sculpture of David as a warrior. Okay, and he's stepping on Goliath's head. So he's depicting his look as a warrior. He doesn't look like, I don't know, Rocky Balboa or anybody like that. But obviously, of the time period, that's kind of what this masculine looked like. And then he also had another sculpture later down the road of David again, but this time as what? That's what Chris, you pointed out yesterday. As the king, yeah, good job. So you can see his transitions, movement in a direction, building up that social hierarchy. We also talked a little bit yesterday, like you mentioned, maybe the historical accuracy behind it, maybe a little off, but again, combining the essence, the arts, the ideal look of the king to that time. Good, good. So we talked about Raphael, Donatello, and we mentioned about a few more artists. Albrecht Dürer, what do we know about him? What was the nickname? Honor that.
He was called the German Leonardo.
Yeah, the German Leonardo. Good. So a lot of people in Germany especially looked at him in high standing and a high light because he was bringing a lot of the sophistication, his education, humanism, and even applying a lot of Christian themes to the artwork, like obviously the Renaissance man himself, Leonardo da Vinci. But he was famed for bringing a lot of these ideals from Italy up to Germany, up into France. Okay, good, good. It's all break there. What else? Who else do we talk about? Who else? We mentioned about a few other artists. He depicting a lot of the lifestyle of the time, especially in Northern Europe. Okay, but what are some common themes of Northern Renaissance? What are some common themes? Why?
Realistic.
A lot of it was realism. Yep, good job. So there's a lot of fine detail within a lot of these forms of art, but you can also find that in a lot of the Italian Renaissance artists. Carolyn? Yeah, good job, good job. So focus a lot on humanity. So one thing to note about some of these Renaissance artists in Italy, I know I showed a lot based off of Christian values, but it just goes to show the emphasis the Pope had on these artists. But a lot of them also would work diligently on sculptures of humanism, of ancient Rome, ancient Greece, and depict a lot of these mythological stories. In northern France, then into obviously northern Germany, they focused strictly on Christianity. They were really influenced by the religion a little bit more than what we noticed with the Italian Renaissance artists. So all their artwork depicting a lot of that lifestyle. They also mentioned a little bit more about how the lower class, lower society might live, some of the roles or statuses that they would have. Yeah, I know I showed you a few artworks depicting some of the roles that people might have had in the lower poverty-stricken areas of Europe. And that's a new site. Okay, again, a lot of the works of art in the Renaissance was depicting this high prestige lifestyle, this wealthy elite status, monarchies, Christianity. But no one really depicted the lower class, which I showed you a few works of art yesterday that depicted that, which was somewhat new at the time. And finally, we talked about Shakespeare. What do we know about Shakespeare? Where did he have a strong influence in? Where was he from? Paul?
Oh, he was from England, strong, the playwright.
Sounds like you're out of breath. You okay?
No.
All right, go ahead, go ahead.
He did poetry and he did plays.
Yeah, good job, good job. So he was obviously an English poet and playwright, wrote over 150 poems and close to 40 playwrights. And he was also an actor himself, so he would a lot of times play within his own playwrights, which is interesting to know. So Shakespeare, he's also famous because he used a lot of the language that was commonly used amongst the middle class and even lower class. So you know how there's some dialects or slang words that are used even today. Some people use some strange words that I don't even know of, but a lot of times that's what he would incorporate within his playwrights. So not only was he famous with the monarchy, the higher class, but also the middle class, the lower class. He would use a lot of the lingo, a lot of the slang words that many of the middle class and lower class would utilize, and he just made him more popular, made him more famous amongst the population. Elizabeth I was really inspired by Shakespeare, and she was obviously a little bit older than him, but she'd often have him play an audition and write these plays for her audience, which is interesting to note. So she had a direct line, a direct tie, just because he was an artist, just because he was an entertainer. Why?
Is there a reason you looked at me? You said that?
Yeah,
Where did I say it?
I don't know. What are some common words that you guys use for that? I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, that's the slaps." Like, oh,
Oh,
that's
it's
so good.
smacks, yeah.
Smacks now. I thought it was slaps.
Slap, smack, sick.
Oh, okay. At first, I had no idea what that meant. I was like, oh, okay.
That's who did not smack
Good.
according to you.
Chris? What?
Is it puzzle?
Confuzzle? I don't think I've ever heard somebody say that word. Confuzzle. Okay, all right. I don't know. There's a few other ones that you guys said. A lot of people, yeah, cap. I hear that one a lot. No cap. Oh, yeah. So, what else? Oh, that John, whatever that John means. Just means anything, I guess. But anyway, he utilizes a lot of that slang at the time, which we would look at it today and say, wow, that's really high English there, right? And that's sophistication at its best. But at the time, it really was. So that's why he was famed. He was really loved by all. Okay, not just the higher class, not just the monarchy, but the lower middle classes as well. All right, one thing I want to show you guys, I didn't get to finish this off yesterday, but I want to show you Globe Theater. All right, so we talked about Shakespeare yesterday. Obviously, a huge influence during the Renaissance period. But here's a recreation of Globe Theater. It did burn down, so it was one of those things where it did burn down actually with a play for Henry VIII, which we'll talk about him here soon enough. And it's shocking to know because there's a lot of chaos and anarchy around his figure himself. And with that burning down was a play about it was just kind of interesting. But anyway, the Globe Theater, you can see that this is a new look of audiences, how people can come together and seek this entertainment. It's obviously stacked on top, and a lot of people can join in and see the entertainment, obviously the plays of the time period. And it's obviously shaped like a globe. It goes around in a circle, which was new for the time. This is a new form of architecture. And yeah, it might have some hidden looks of Romanesque features of playwrights and how the stage would look and just really how the audience would sit around the stage. But this is more of a modern look of what the Globe Theater would have looked like way back when. Caroline?
I was waiting.
What's that?
Henry VIII.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll talk about him next presentation here so soon. What?
Was it like kind of how Rome was with the Colosseum? Like,
Yeah.
Like the peasants and stuff sat at the top.
Oh, yeah, so further away?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, a lot like that. Yeah, a lot like that. You have different sections for it, like the monarch, the higher class, but for the most part, I mean, this was a little bit of a different one, right? Okay, it almost seems like almost every angle, you can have a good view of the stage, which is interesting. Yeah, obviously some better than none, but others. Yeah, so Globe Theater, like I mentioned, was burned down, but it was recreated, I believe in 1997. They added on to it even more to make it look like what it once was. And it's only a little bit distance away from where it was before. So that's interesting. That's where Shakespeare would perform a lot of his plays in the late 1500s, moving into the 1600s. So, yeah, and a lot of his plays after. So, what are some famous playwrights that he had? We talked about a few of them yesterday. Nick? Romeo and Juliet. Good job. A love story. Good. We all love those sappy love stories, don't we? Connor? Macbeth. Yep. Good job. Good job. Amelia? Hamlet. Good. What's a famous quote from Hamlet? Anybody know? Does anybody know a famous quote from Hamlet? Chris?
To be.
Yes. To be or not to be. That is the question. I'm sure you heard of that before, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. Caroline?
Hamlet was also in the song displayed being
Good.
29,500 more songs.
Wow. Can you imagine trying to memorize all those words? Unbelievable. All right. Okay. So the Globe Theater. And with instruments being applied to some of these plays, these playwrights, I think it's interesting to know during this time of the Shakespearean plays, a music would be applied and entertain people a little bit more than just your common acting. So I think that's interesting.
Can you play the bagpipes for us?
No, I cannot. My one friend in high school used to play a bagpipe, so it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right. Does Wi-Fi work for you guys? Maybe? I don't know. All right. Okay. So I'm going to publish this assignment here. It's differences in arts during the Renaissance. So I know I talked a little bit about this before. So as you look into obviously Italy, where the Renaissance emerged, where it originated, it's focused a lot on ancient Rome, ancient Greece, this mythology, and at the same time applying Christianity to it. We talked about the Medici family, and we mentioned about how some of these Medici family members were popes at one point. So that link to Christianity would become pretty strong. And the goal was to try to bridge that gap, bring people back to the religion. As you move north okay, into France and Germany. It's pretty much all focused around Christianity. It's all focused around that. So that's one thing to note about the differences in artwork from Italy and moving up north. And then we talked about England, again with Shakespeare, a lot of his works, not just really mentioning about Christianity. I mean, yeah, you could probably tie some symbols together with Christianity, and religion, but for the most part, it's talking about love. It's talking about human experience, human interaction, and how people obviously fall into these weird situations or scenarios, which made him very famous for the time. Which even still today, hear a lot about his plays, in the movies, in the documentaries, and even reenactments. All right, so here is the assignment I'd like you to work on. There's 7 questions. That's really it, okay? There you go. So can you open it? You have the internet open. Okay, good. The internet works. The internet works. Good. Good, good, good. All right, I'll play some music for you guys. Tomorrow we'll talk about Gutenberg